Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
And I'm Jordan Pridgen.
Yeah, Jordan is joining us today to upgrade a Precon, specifically this Precon, the Temur Roar Dragon Precon from Tarkir Dragonstorm. They had to have a dragon one.
I mean, it was absolutely required.
So this one's green, it's blue, it's red, it's full of dragons and high power creatures. We're going to walk through everything that comes in this pre-constructed deck, all the cards that you can get off the shelf, how the deck works, and we're going to give you 10 cards you can add to it to get it into peak fighting shape for your next game night, in addition to telling you the 10 cards to cut, using only a budget of $50. There's a lot of good cards. You don't need to spend a lot to get a deck powerful.
Nope.
And this one's pretty sweet out of the box, which I love. If you want to pick up any of the cards that we talk about in this episode, you can do so while supporting the show at cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom has a huge selection of singles, sealed product. You can order this Precon. You can order the 10 cards we're going to talk about in this episode. You can order any cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. And it's nice shopping from a place that has a huge selection of cards. We're picky about what kind of cards you want. You want the right foiling and the right printing and the right condition from the right set. So shopping from a place that has a ton of options means that you're more likely to get exactly the card that you're looking for, and you're not chasing down dozens of envelopes through the mail. We trust Card Kingdom because they're real pros, they know Magic cards, and they can get it to us safely and quickly. Again, support the show and shop at cardkingdom.com/command.
I once bought my friend a wedding gift on Card Kingdom. I got an alpha counterspell like way back, but
that's a nice one.
I got it on Card Kingdom.
I should have a wedding registry at Card Kingdom. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea, right? That's funny.
And while you're shopping for Magic cards, make sure you're picking up all the accessories you need to keep them safe and organized over at ultrapro.com/command. Ultra Pro has binders and deck boxes, sleeves, playmats, card sorting trays, dice, everything that you need to play Magic and store Magic cards. If you're new to the hobby, then you know that they sort of add up quickly and that one box is not enough anymore. Make sure you have a binder for your special cards or the ones that you want to play. I like having a binder full of cards that's just like, these are the ones I'm trying to get into a deck. So get a binder for all of your different purposes. You need a trade binder, you need a cool cards binder, you need just like a memorable cards binder, and you can get all of them at Ultra Pro with the highest quality stuff. Plus, if you have a card that you really, really want to show off, they have these new boys.
Ooh.
These are their one-touch cases, and you can put a little card in there. It's got a stand and a magnet, and you keep it safe, and you can store it on your shelf. Look at it always. Maybe it's a card that you love, but your friends don't want you to play anymore.
Or that someone gave you as a wedding present.
What?
Hey, how about that?
Anyway, you can pick that up while supporting the show over at ultrapro.com/command. That's perfect. Did you give them the case to go along with it?
It was a long time ago. The cases didn't exist.
Well, this is for their next wedding.
Yep. Wait, let's hope that doesn't happen.
A final way to support us is directly at patreon.com/commandzone. All of our patrons literally contribute to making this show happen. Plus, they get access to sweet perks like our Discord and exclusive content like Turn Talk. If you like extra turns and you want to see us chat after the game, that's the way that you get access to it. Certain tiers of our Patreon offer that. Everybody gets to jump in our Discord and chat with us about Magic, and as new cards roll out, it's always fun to have a community to discuss Magic cards. Like a Discord. Plus, we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode, and this one is dedicated to Noah Ulrey. Noah, you rock.
You rock, Noah.
All right, let's get into it. We're talking about the Temur Roar. Dragon Precon from Tarkir.
Yep.
They're all kind of Dragon Precons.
Sure, but this is like the quintessential.
This is the
Dragon
dragoniest
Precon.
Dragon Precon.
Easily the dragoniest. If there's like a scale from like perfect dragon to not dragony at all.
All
right
of them
there.
are like a 5 on the dragon scale. This one, 10 out of 10.
Absolutely 10.
Speaking of 10, we're going to add 10 cards. We're going to take 10 cards out to get it in peak fighting shape using only a budget of $50. But first, we want to get to know the deck. Let you get to know the deck before we make any changes to it. And the best way to get to know any deck is starting with the commander.
Yep. So, the face commander right out of the box for this deck is Irini of the Unwritten. This is 4 and Temur, which is green, blue, and red, for a 7/7 legendary creature, Spirit Dragon, like Ugin. That's cool. It has flying and trample, and then whenever Irini enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from among them into the battlefield. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order.
It's Winota for dragons?
Yeah, it's real good.
That's nuts. So it's on ETB, it's on attack. So if you can give it haste, you get 2 triggers from this right away.
Yep, it hits the ground, it attacks, you get 2 free dragons from your deck, not even from your hand, which is like pretty nice. So, I mean, if you've seen something like Kalia of the Vast, you know how powerful just cheating stuff in when you attack can be. This does it on ETB and attack.
And it draws.
it. So, pretty neat.
I like this a lot. I mean, anybody who's built this kind of commander that like looks at the top for some amount of thing, you know, you need a pretty high density of that thing to be able to hit. But looking at 8 cards is a lot. So it doesn't mean that your curve needs to be completely insane. But even if you do have a super high curve, you've got a way to cheat this stuff into play.
Well, and it is interesting. I mean, you look at cards like Gishath, which are like such big dino deck.
Right.
But Gishath has to actually like hit to be doing all that. It is a 7-mana commander, but it's a pretty low bar for how much value it can give you.
Yeah, this is sweet. And it feels like a big stompy dragon for a dragon commander. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
There is a backup commander to this deck, as always. This is also full art. It's Eshki Temur's Roar. They said the name of the movie.
Whoa, what?
Eshki is a human warrior for green, blue, and red, so 3 mana altogether. She's a 2/2. It says, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent.
I love Eshki. What a cool design.
This is very cool because it goes with Irini, because it cares about like high power creatures.
Dragons tend to be pretty tough.
But Eshki, pretty powerful. But Eshki doesn't care about dragons specifically. So this gives you an interesting sort of side quest.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what's in the 99 and what the deck is sort of more built to handle. But this one feels like it's going to be more focused on cheap creatures with high power.
Yeah.
Rather than obviously dragons specifically.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of power for Eshki here.
Yeah, I mean, Eshki seems like a cool commander to build on her own, completely eschewing any sort of like typal element to it, you know?
All right, those are the 2 options in the command zone for this deck. Some cool things going on here. We're going to talk about the reprint value of this deck. Of course, this only includes the reprints, and it only includes the reprints at time of recording. So all of these numbers will go down once the reprints are announced. Right now, they are secret.
Ooh.
And all of the data that we are going to talk about today is assuming that you are buying this box at MSRP, which is $45. If you're buying it at another price, then you can adjust the math accordingly. But assuming the people are selling it at MSRP. All of that said, the total reprint value for this deck is
$174.75.
This is really high.
Insane.
That's really high.
I'm not sure that, especially for a $45 deck, like I can think of one that had better reprints than that.
I can't think of one right now.
Maybe we really go through the archives and pull out all the data.
Yeah, and I mean, this is only accounting for like 72 of the cards in the deck, right? It doesn't count the basics. It doesn't count the 10 new cards, or there's 4 main set cards in here.
That's true.
So this is actually a relatively low reprint count for a very high reprint value. For a little bit more context, we've been calculating a bang for your buck value, which is the total reprint value divided by the MSRP. So in this case, divided by $45, you're getting $3.88 worth of cards for your $1 cash spent.
Pretty sick.
In American. That's incredible. You're quadrupling your money almost.
Yeah.
plus you get additional value from the new cards. I mean, that's super exciting. Dragons is a very popular type to build, and a lot of the pieces that make dragon decks work get very expensive because people are just excited to build them. So it's nice that you can get all of them in one spot. Unfortunately, I do anticipate that this will probably be sold at a higher value than $45.
But, we just got to go off MSRP. That's what the idea is.
We cannot guess at this point. For reference, the average reprint value in 2024 was $137.79. So this is significantly more value than the average of 2024. And the average bang for your buck was $2.75. Almost a full dollar. Well, more than $1.
Yeah.
More than the average. So if you can get this at $45, snap it up, especially if you're interested in dragons. There's some cool pieces.
It's a heck of a deck. And also, I mean, looking at these reprints, a lot of them are like pretty solid, like dragon staples, too.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a very bird's eye view of the reprint value. But once you get into the initial reprints, it's very exciting stuff. The first one is a $20 card with Hellkite Courser.
Oh, yeah.
This is great especially for a high mana value commander that has an attack trigger, right? Hellkite Courser gives it haste. Oh, it sure does. When this creature enters, you may put a commander you own from the command zone onto the battlefield. It gains haste. Return to the command zone at the beginning of the next end step. That's fine. We just got 2 free dragons.
I mean, that's great. Yeah, it also, I mean, putting it back in the command zone when you have another ETB lets you cast it again and just keep the dragon train going. Awesome.
This is a huge reprint and really valuable in the deck.
And then the next is Nogi, Draco Zealot, which basically is just a 3/3 Kobold Shaman that makes dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And whenever he attacks, if you control 3 or more dragons, he becomes a 5/5 dragon with flying.
Yeah.
So just, a nice little ramp piece that also keeps pressure on the board once you have your dragons out and stuff.
Nogi is sitting at $14. It's because it's only been printed the one time,
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it's a jumpstart card. So it's very cool to see this reprint, especially right where you want to see it. Selvala Stampede got a reprint
classic.
at $13. Perfect for any deck that is loaded with high mana value creatures. The next one is a doozy.
Dragon Tempest. This basically just gives your flying dragons haste and then deals damage every time dragons enter the battlefield.
I am always blown away that this card is 2 mana.
Really, really good.
Yeah. It is sitting at $10, so this is a great reprint for dragon lovers everywhere. After that is Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, sitting at $9. We love an Atsushi. Nice, cheap dragon. Very good with the backup commander, too. Elemental Bond sitting at $8. Some card draw. Temur Ascendancy is back at $8. This is perfect. Draws
nice flavor
cards,
win
got
too.
haste, flavor.
Gotta have them Temur.
Mm-hmm. A nice reprint here from, this is from Aftermath, actually. It's Sarkhan Soul of Flame. He's sitting at $7 right now.
He's sort of a companion to Nogi because he also reduces the cost of dragons and turns into a dragon.
Ugh, Sarkhan would do terrible things to become a dragon.
Oh my god. He's a problem.
I love this card. I'm glad to see it reprinted. It's nice to see more on the market, especially after Aftermath didn't get opened all that much. Finally, at $6.50, it's Dragon Lord Atarka. A nice, big, stompy dragon for
dragon
your
that
dragon
stomps.
deck.
And you know what? That's what you need in your dragon deck sometimes.
9 reprints over $5 or more.
Very impressive.
4 of them that are 10 or more. That is a great suite of reprints. Happy to see it. So that is a look at the deck financially. We like to take a look at the deck mechanically before we start making changes to it, see how the vegetables look, see how the nuts and bolts of the actual theme look, and then
find out what we need to improve about it. Yeah,
absolutely. Which means it's time to break down the
stats.
I always picture wind. I don't know. Yeah. First, we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts, the things that make every commander deck work, and we've adjusted our categories a little bit to match the ones that we were using in the deck building template. So you may recognize some new terms. If you haven't watched that episode, go check that out. It'll help explain these a little bit further, but I will try and do it really quickly here as well. Okay, so the first chunk is, you know it, you love it, it's ramp.
Oh, yeah. And this deck has 15 pieces of ramp in it.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it needs it. I mean, the thing is, when you have a 7-mana commander, like, you can't wait for turn 7 to cast that. The game's over by turn 7.
Absolutely.
Like...
I expect a high density of ramp. Honestly, a high density of impactful ramp, right?
Yeah.
Like not just 2-mana rampant growth and that kind of thing. I would think you want some 4-mana get 2 lands, some explosive vegetations feel good, or 3 and dynamos.
100%.
Just like to actually surge your mana forward.
I think you're going to be spending more turns than most decks ramping in this deck. So you can afford, some of those 4-mana ramps.
Ramp is a part of this plan, clearly. And that is above what we put in the template, so that makes sense.
Yep.
The next piece is 11 pieces of card advantage, including the commander. It's 1 lower than what we expect in this kind of deck. I would want to increase, especially like the low mana value card advantage here, just to make sure you're hitting those land drops to get to 7 mana.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important to make sure your card advantage is like keeping pace with your ramp, because if you have a ton of mana, like if you just ramp, and you don't have ways to refill your hand, you don't have anything to do with that mana.
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, it would be so incredible if I drew something that did something.
Yeah.
So might be looking to increase the card advantage there. Up next is Targeted Disruption. There are 15 pieces in this deck. So those are more traditional removal spells, but including bounce spells or goad spells, single target kind of stuff. That is above what we put in the template, which kind of makes sense for a deck that's going to be a little bit slower.
Sure. You want to be able to keep down threats while you're building to your commander. And then, which kind of follows up on that, it has 5 pieces of mass disruption. Now, I will say everything that was categorized as mass disruption doesn't necessarily mean it's an efficient board wipe or anything. Right. I think there's one where it's like a dragon can deal 1 damage to everything on the board or something like that. But the general idea of 5 mass disruption is pretty good.
Right. That's a hair under what we put on the template, which was 6. But I don't expect a lot of dragon decks to be running like big board wipes or that. You want cheap board wipes to play before you play your dragons, or you want dragons that kill off multiple things.
Yeah, exactly.
So that sort of lines up with my expectation of how this deck is going to disrupt. Is sort of remove things to defend itself in the early game with targeted disruption, and then use some mass disruption to make sure they can get through with the dragons or damage.
Right.
Finally, the deck is running 37 lands, 14 basics, 9.5 come in tapped. Just a little bit of idea of how we measure this. Anything that could enter untapped or could enter tapped for any reason or another was counted as half a tapped land. So that includes like check lands or tango lands. Anything that says like, if you control something or something, then it was counted as half.
And 37 lands is the perfect number of lands, right, Rachel?
No. 37's a little low, especially for a curve this high. I would probably be running 39 lands or 40 lands, especially with a 7-mana commander in green.
Yeah.
So I think this is a hair low, but we're not going to touch the mana base for this upgrade because we tend to just let the mana bases speak for themselves. But if you were going to optimize this deck, I think it'd go up a little bit. All right, then we're going to break down the second section, which is stuff that's specific to this deck. And honestly, there's not a lot of complicated math to do on what this deck is doing.
Yep.
It's doing dragons.
Dragon stuff.
And there's 30 of them.
That's a lot.
That's so many dragons.
That's a huge number of dragons.
30 is like high, and normally we say like 30 to be your plan section, but when your plan is dragons, you probably want a few less.
Yeah. You know what? I meant to go do a hypergeometric calculator on this, but if you're looking at the top 8 cards of your deck, I think that's what you did, 8, right? Yeah. With 30 dragons in the deck, it is nearly impossible to miss.
I was going to say, it feels very, very likely. Like, Winota looked at the top 6, and we ran like 21 or 22 humans in that deck.
Yeah.
And it was fairly consistent. It was consistent enough. And this is 10 more than that and looks at 2 more cards each. So I think 30 is going to cut it. It makes sense because there's actually a lot of like cheaper dragons in this deck. There's 3 and 4 drops to make sure that you are still have castable dragons, and which makes sense with Eshki, I think. But 30 is a lot. Speaking of Eshki, we also broke down how many creatures have 4 power or more, how many creatures have 6 power or more to see how much her 2 abilities will be triggering. And there are 19 creatures with power 4 or more, which is pretty good.
Yep.
I'd probably want like just a hair more there. And then there are 7 creatures with power 6 or more. That seems low because that's sort of the main payoff for Eshki, but you can certainly draw cards off of Eshki.
And to be entirely clear, all the creatures with power 6 or more are also creatures with power 4 or more.
That's true.
So this is not, 18,
it's not like 26,
or this is 28 total cards, or 26 total cards.
That's true.
It's 19.
It's 19 total that will trigger Eshki, which does feel kind of low considering the dragon count.
Yeah.
So a lot of wee dragons running around.
Itty bitty dragons.
All right, so that is what is in this deck. We've sort of alluded to some of the things that we would like to see out of the deck, but before we do any upgrades, I want to talk about what our goals are, and then we'll talk about the best cards that sort of help guide those goals.
So first, we made the decision that we are going to go with Areni of the Unwritten as the commander. I mean, just from what we can see talking about the numbers there, I think there's just not enough things that really play into the 4+ and the 6+ thing to put, what's her name, in the command zone.
Ishki
In the command zone. And, it's the dragon deck. If you're buying this, it's probably because you want to make big dragons. And I think everyone would be upset with us.
You took the dragon deck and turned it into like just a draw deck? Cool.
Yeah, well, what if we pulled it and we were just like, we cut all the dragons. Ooh, boy, I don't like those.
I know you're here to harness the fury of the dragons, as the box says. But yeah, it makes sense to me. I think the deck is well set up to support dragons. There's too many pieces in it that are specifically dedicated to the dragon plan to really get to an Eshki deck that feels functional
and
in just 10 changes.
I think what I really wanted to do with this was just like, I think the deck already is built around its plan pretty well, and I just wanted to enhance that plan, like have it get to Areni faster, more efficiently, and get more out of it. So the first thing I wanted to do is add more ramp to your Areni, just like efficient, strong ramp, often repeatable in some senses. I wanted to make sure that Areni has haste so she can get down and get the attack on the turn that it comes out.
Yeah, there's a couple of haste enablers in the deck, but not enough to consistently have with your commander.
Yeah, and it's like you don't want to over haste any deck because once you give haste is given. Like it doesn't help it to have a ton of extra.
Stack. Yeah.
But it's really, really important for this deck to work as well as it could. And then I wanted to make sure that the dragons that come out slap.
Yeah.
Like
there's a lot of decks, there's a lot of like sort of mid-range dragons here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 5-mana dragons. And if you're cheating them into play, you kind of want like big, impactful bangers to hit the battlefield.
ETBs, if you can pull it off. Like things that people, every time you attack, go, oh no! Oh, gee, that dragon is going to be a problem.
Yeah, dragon vibes. I've never met a dragon that I haven't said that, honestly. That dragon, that one's fine.
Yeah. Chill dragon. NBD. And then finally, I just wanted to keep your hand full as you're doing all these things. Because one of the things I found out kind of playing the deck is that once you have ramped all this stuff out and you have cast your commander for free, if they don't get removed immediately, you have a lot of mana available to you. So you want to be supplementing the free dragons you're getting with refilling your hand and playing your own dragons from stuff. So yeah, a little more card draw I think is important with what they already had there.
That said, a few of these pieces do exist in the deck. We wanted to talk about the best ones, the ones that when you draw, you're like, okay, this is what you want the deck to really be doing. And we've alluded to the first one.
Yeah. So the first one is Dragon Tempest. If you haven't seen this card before, it's nuts. It's really good in Dragon decks.
Right.
This is 1 and a red for an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control with flying enters, it gains haste until end of turn. And whenever a dragon you control enters, it deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of dragons you control. I will tell you, we played a test game with these decks before doing this upgrade, and I got Dragon Tempest out early and ran the board with it.
Yeah, that card's bananas.
It was insane.
2 mana, like, this is Like, granting haste is a thing that we've seen on 3 mana permanents just flat. These days, it's a little cheaper than that. It's like 2 mana is what we expect for modern cards. Plus, like, repeatable removal. It's like fully a Warstorm Surge.
Well, and not to mention the pattern with your Rennie, where it's like, if this is out, you play your Rennie. You do 1 damage to something. Your Rennie puts another dragon out. And then you have 2 dragons, so it deals 2 damage to something.
Right.
Then you attack with your Rennie, and another dragon comes out, and that deals 3 damage to something. That's a lot of removal.
Dragon Snowball, that's the way that they work. Every time, like, it looks like Impact Tremors and it feels like Warstorm Surge is the way that card works. The second card we want to talk about is new. It is Zenith Festival.
I love this card.
X red for a sorcery. It says, exile the top X cards of your library. You may play them until the end of your next turn. So you dump a ton of mana into this, perfect in a ramp deck, and you get access to a ton of cards. But it also has Harmonize X red. Harmonize is a new mechanic. It says you may cast this card from your graveyard for its Harmonize cost. You may tap a creature you control to reduce that cost by an amount of generic mana equal to its power.
Wow.
Then exile this spell. So it has flashback that can be sort of convoked with power.
Yeah, and you can still add mana to that.
Right. So it's red, tap a thing with 6 power, you impulse draw 6 cards until the end of your next turn, right?
Yeah. You're going to have things with 6 power.
Yeah, that's the deck. There's 7 things with 6 power. But like your commander is a 7/7, which you want to be attacking with. But like this says, okay, I have 1 dragon and I need 1 million, or I have a ton of mana and I need a dragon. This is exactly the kind of ramp that a big stompy deck, the kind of card advantage that a big stompy deck wants.
It's huge. It feels really good. I honestly think even in decks that don't have that huge amount of power, just the ability to flash this back and supplement it with one of your creatures and stuff is going to be really good.
Yeah, that's wild. Like, I'm thinking about it in a Cast from Exile deck where all of my stuff is like 2 power. And I'm like,
you're still like, whatever.
That's still like...
Dump some mana into it.
Yeah, 2 mana flashback, impulse draw 2 cards. That seems really good.
Seems huge.
Very cool. I love that new card design as well.
The next like top tier card in the deck, I thought we've mentioned it before as well, is Sarkhan Soul Aflame. This is 1 blue-red for a legendary creature human shaman. It's a 2/4, and it says dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, which is already pretty nice. But whenever a dragon you control enters, you may have Sarkhan become a copy of it until end of turn, except its name is Sarkhan Soul Aflame, and it's legendary in addition to its other types. So...
Sarkhan's sweet.
Sarkhan is nuts. Sarkhan becomes your best dragon when it enters. With your commander, he sort of acts like a haste enabler. Because if you don't have something else giving your commander haste, Sarkhan can just turn into a Rennie. It'll still be called Sarkhan or whatever. And then attack and get you that trigger. But the cool thing about this haste enabler is it stacks with other haste enablers. So if you have something that's giving your Rennie haste and you play her and Sarkhan is on the battlefield, you are getting like 4 triggers out of the thing. I guess only 3, but still, it's a lot.
And it's a cost reducer.
Yep.
When this Sarkhan was printed, I was like, wow, this thing's busted. And
really good.
Jimmy played it in an extra turns, and it really shows off the power of having a haste enabler and a cost reducer in the command zone. So I think if you haven't played with Sarkhan yet, give it a shot. It's wild. Okay, so that's everything that's in the deck off the shelf. And there's a lot of sweet things in here, but there's still room to grow. We're going to tell you what cards that you need to add to this and what cards to take out to get it as fiery and dragony as possible after a few words from our sponsors. Jordan wrote these.
Yay!
Cards, so many cards. Josh, what would you say is your most valuable card?
Oh, well, actually, I do have a Masterpiece Soul.
Wrong! It's your credit card.
Wait, is this some kind of pay-to-win joke?
No, unless by winning you mean protecting your important cards with a high-quality Ridge wallet. Check it out, I just got one. Ridge wallets are sleek and minimalist, and a huge step up from what I was using before. They're lighter, stronger, way more secure, and clearing out my old wallet made me realize how many cards I was carrying around that I just didn't need. Ridge makes it easy to protect the cards that really matter, because all their wallets come with RFID blocking technology to protect you from digital pickpockets. Plus, when I need to actually use a card, it's easy to slide out and tap to pay. As easy as it is to slide away right now!
Oh, that's it. I'm getting a Ridge wallet.
Right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/command. Just head to ridge.com/command to see their biggest sale of the year.
After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. So please support the Command Zone and tell them our show sent you. Again, that's ridge.com/command.
Whoa, Cinnamon! Hail, hungry friends! I'm Sir Ginger, Meal Ender! I know I can't end every meal. I mean, let's be reasonable. People need to eat something. So instead, I've made it my mission to end boring, unhealthy meals with Factor. They deliver fresh, never frozen meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. No more harrowing journeys to the grocery store or grueling trials of cooking and cleaning. Each Factor meal is delicious and dietitian approved, making them the perfect companion to your personal health quest. And with over 40 options each week, spanning from the keto to the calorie smart, you won't have to settle for the same cookie-cutter cuisine day after day. My favorite is the ground beef and thyme cottage pie for a delectable and hearty feast. And you can trust my opinion on food, for you may not know this about me, but I am food!
Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Oh, hey everyone, it's me, everyone's favorite inescapable magic mascot, Loot the Pathfinder. I don't need help finding my path through the multiverse, but when it comes to selling my sweet loot-themed loot, well, that path was paved by Shopify. As you might ancestral recall, I've talked to you about Shopify before, but the more sets I'm in, the more people demand cute, cuddleable me's, so my warehouses are flush with plush. Luckily, with Shopify's powerful tools, I'm making sales even quicker than a lightning bolt. They have the #1 checkout on the planet, making sure your shoppers' carts don't get abandoned. Like how I was abandoned in a vault for millennia. Shopify is the business behind the business, powering all sorts of sellers, even the Command Zone merch store. So if you want to boost your sales with Shopify, do it now. An opportunity like this doesn't double strike. I mean strike twice. Haha, silly little Lou.
Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/TCZ, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/TCZ to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/TCZ.
Aha, Psych Rift. Yeah, this deck feels like a 3.
Updating your decks?
No, I'm just sorting them into commander brackets.
Oh, just use ARCHIDEKT. It's the easiest way to get an estimate of your deck's bracket. Plus, you can click the number and it'll lay out the reasoning. It takes things like tutors, extra turns, and land destruction into account, and game changers are all clearly marked. It even recognizes 2-card combos. See? It's saying your deck is actually a 4. It'll be a 3 if you've got Ristic Study.
Huh. Okay, 4 it is.
ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and check your deck's commander brackets. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command-zone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are upgrading the Temur Roar Precon. We're adding dragons. We're taking dragons out. It's time.
Dragons are going to shuffle around.
We're doing a dragon do-si-do.
Yeah, exactly.
Dragon square dancing.
A big old dragon square dance.
We're going to add 10 cards to this deck. We're going to take 10 cards out using a budget of only $50 and whatever you paid for the Precon, of course. First things first, let's talk about some dragons.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we want the dragons in the deck to slap.
Yeah.
So, we're going to add some dragons that are like really impactful. Look.
Yeah.
This first one is almost too easy.
I know. You guys know it. Everybody
gotta put it
say it with me. It's
Miriam,
Sentinel Worm. It's Temur Dragons, and this is the most busted Temur Dragon
I
of
think
all.
this is currently the top Temur Dragon commander, but there's a reason. Miriam is a 3 blue, green, red. I said those in the wrong order. For a 6/6 legendary creature dragon spirit, and it is flying in Ward 2. And then, whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. This is really good.
Yeah. Miriam doesn't care if it's legendary. Doesn't care if it was cast. Doesn't care.
It works with your commander.
Mm-hmm.
It works with everything your commander cheats out. Mm-hmm. It gets around the legend rule. It's perfect. It's insane.
It protects itself. It's
It's evasive.
You need
I
it.
mean, we forget that that's just a cool thing about dragons already.
Yeah,
They tend to be
flying's
evasive.
good. Yeah, you got to put Mirim in this deck. It's $2.75 at time of recording. I hope it stays roughly that way. People opened a lot of Baldur's Gate, so hopefully you can get a Mirim in your hands. Yeah, is that good?
Really good.
Up next, an underrated dragon.
Mirim is about $2.75 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, Dragonhawk Fates Tempest. Underrated dragon. Very good.
Yeah, from Bloomburrow. The only dragon in Bloomburrow, but pretty cool.
Also a bird. 3 red for a legendary creature bird dragon. It is a 5/5 with flying. Whenever Dragonhawk enters or attacks, like the commander, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. You may play those cards until your next end step, and at the beginning of your next end step, Dragonhawk deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled.
I really like this card.
This card's sweet. It's really good in this deck that is trying to put a bunch of things with with a lot of power on the board. It's a dragon itself, it's card advantage, it's additional damage. It rules.
The one thing that's sort of a downside of it sometimes is that you cast it and then you basically just have until the end of the turn that you cast it to cast this stuff.
But it gives you damage anyway.
Yeah, if you don't, you get damage anyway. And also in this deck in particular, you're cheating it out. So sure, if it's the turn that you cast your commander and you get it, maybe that's a little tough, but if it's on a turn where you attacked with your commander, you probably have the mana sitting back to like cast the stuff you get off of this. So yeah, Dragonhawk I think just like is going to really put you ahead when it gets played out.
This is also the kind of thing that's really good with all the haste enablers that we're adding because it has, again, the ETB and the attack trigger. So pick this one up for sure. If you haven't played with it yet, I think this card plays much better than it reads.
Yeah. So the next one is Ganax Astral Hunter. This is 4 and a red for a 3/4 legendary creature dragon. It is flying, and whenever Ganax Astral Hunter or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token. It also has choose a background, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I kind of put this in the deck because one of the things you kind of want with a big, expensive commander like this is a way to, if they get removed every turn, sort of recoup the commander tax that you're going to be paying. And sure, Ganax only kind of makes 1 treasure when it enters, but it does that whenever a dragon enters. So it's going to be continually getting you ramp value and stuff and just keeping you with what you need to keep the pressure on, even if they wipe your board, even if they are removing your commander.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about adding ramp to this deck. This adds ramp and a dragon. So like having things like cards like Ganax that play 2 roles just makes your deck tighter and work better.
Yep.
Density is so important when you're looking at the top 8. You can't cut like a ton of dragons because you want to be able to hit every single time your commander triggers. So having things that are both ramp and dragons goes a long way. Plus, Ganax is only 50 cents right now.
Pretty nice.
Easy to pick up. You can try it. If you don't like it, cut it. I think it'll be sweet.
This next one is sort of our big ticket ad.
Yeah.
But I love this card. So this is Cavern Horde Dragon, which is 7 red for a 6/6 creature dragon. And this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest number of artifacts an opponent controls. So sometimes this will be like 5 mana. Sometimes it'll be 2 mana, but that's going to be a little rarer.
Yeah.
But still, that's a pretty good little reduction there. And then it is flying, trample, and haste. A lot of keywords. And whenever Cavern Horde Dragon deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token for each artifact that player controls.
Nice.
This, I mean, you know, with the number of treasures and food and thopters and things like that that are out there in games these days, that can be a lot of free treasures.
This card plays really, really well. Anytime you have a flyer with haste just goes a long way. And it's just going to, again, bolster the amount of mana that you can create. Make sure that you can recast your commander when you are inevitably the threat.
Yeah.
It's worth the $14 investment in this dragon. It's also sort of the cheaper version of its brother, Ancient Copper Dragon.
Yeah.
But I sort of like Cavern Horde Dragon more just because you have a little bit more control over it and it has haste.
Yeah, and it can reduce itself too. So in games where it's best, it's also cheapest.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yep. $14 for Cavern Horde Dragon. We also talked about how this deck needs just a little bit more ramp, and we've added some cool pieces.
So the first one we added here is Kozilek's Unsealing.
I love this choice.
Yeah, I thought
a little bit of a flavor fail,
yeah, but
it's really good.
But it's neat. It's 2 and a blue for an enchantment. It has Devoid, so it's not really blue. It's colorless, but that's irrelevant. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create 2 0/1 Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, add colorless. And then, whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. So specifically, this works pretty well with the commander because, I mean, going up to the commander, you're going to be casting these other like 4 and 5 drop dragons going on. And if you look at the curve of the deck, it has a lot of 4 drop dragons and a lot of 5 drop dragons, so you can cast stuff before you get to your commander. And when you've been ramping and doing everything, well, I mean, yes, those spawns are kind of one-time use sort of things, but the trick of this deck is if you can get to your commander, like, you're kind of sitting pretty on a lot of things. And then, when you actually cast your commander for 7, it draws you 3 cards. It refills your hand, which is really good.
I also think you have to expect you're going to be casting your commander more than once.
Absolutely.
Like, this is just a must-remove problem. Like, Winota is, and she gets humans. This gets dragons. So, you just have to understand that, like, your opponents have to kill your commander, and this says, all right, go ahead, kill my commander. I'll cast it again, draw 3 cards. Which is sick. I also think when you're playing a deck that's going to be such a front foot deck like this, you're the aggressor, you're the problem. Having a little machine that gives you mana, of course, but also just gives you chump blockers.
That's true.
Is really helpful. So even if you're not sacrificing those creatures, you're like, I got plenty of treasures, they're still going to do work for you.
It's amazing how often you find out that just having some little Eldrazi spawn on the board is good because they're creatures.
Yeah, or they won't attack you because all you're going to do is lose a spawn.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Is also only 50 cents right now.
Yeah. Up next is one of my favorite cards to put in big stompy decks like this. It's Nylea Keen-Eyed. Sitting at $7 right now. Nylea is for 3 and a green. She's a legendary enchantment creature, god, with indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. Feels unlikely in this deck. There's not a lot of green going on. But it says creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Great. And then it says 2 and a green, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. So it's a like sort of explore for creatures. Is the way I think about it. But I like Nylea in decks that are trying to cast big things because it's a nice little mana advantage engine, obviously, but it's a good place to just put mana.
Yeah.
You can
if you don't have dragons to cast, you can find them.
There you go. And you're like, 3 mana feels like a lot, but it's not when you can do it repeatedly in one turn. Like, I used to have a deck that would make like 27 mana easily with a Nykthos, right?
Yeah.
And you can just dump it into Nylea and keep digging for creatures, and suddenly you have action for all that mana you're making.
And again, once you've ramped, this is just going to churn through your deck and make it so you consistently have pressure.
Yeah. I like Nylea a lot. Up next, this card is both ramp and a haste enabler, but we are going to get into the haste section of the upgrade. And this one's also quite budget, sitting at only 50 cents.
Yeah, no, okay. This is a 3-mana rock. It's Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind. And normally, not a big fan of 3-mana rocks myself, but this one's pretty good because it's 2 and a red, and it is an artifact that taps for red. And if that mana is spent on a dragon creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. And as we've said, haste is just nuts. Haste is really good in this deck.
3-mana rock, I mean, think of this as like a 2-mana rock plus a 1-mana red, like, haste granter.
Absolutely.
Like, the amount of value that you get for 3 mana here is so important, especially when your commander is 7 mana. You don't have to be mana efficient when you're ramping as much as this deck does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, think about it. If this is the difference between you getting your commander down and it getting removed, or you getting your commander down, it getting to attack, and then getting removed, it's
2 dragons.
That's getting you a whole dragon, which in a worst case scenario is probably like at least 4 mana worth of value out of that, and a card.
Yeah, I love this include. I think this is one of those. This is one of the ones that I really kept from Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I've got like 3 or 4 Carnelian Orbs of Dragonkind floating around because
There's gotta be places for this.
someday I'm gonna play a Dragon Commander that I need to give haste, and it is really good in this deck.
Absolutely.
Speaking of really good in all decks, it's Lightning Greaves is next at $7.50. You're the threat. You need haste. You need Lightning Greaves in this deck.
Yeah, and I think specifically Lightning Greaves over Swiftfoot Boots in this one because, boy, you just really don't want to have to pay 1 extra mana when you're already casting 7 for your commander.
For sure. Yeah. You really don't want to pay 8 for your commander. So, got to put Lightning Greaves in here for sure. Up next is a card that I have been obsessed with lately. Every time it's played against me, I'm like, that card's busted. And every time I have it in my hand, I'm like, this card's busted.
I played it on the last extra turns I was on, and it was huge.
It was busted.
I think it actually, I think if I did not have that, I would have not been able to win that game.
I don't think so. This is the Xolatoyac game that we played on extra turns. It's a Smuggler's Surprise, sitting at $4 right now. This is a spree card that costs a single green. But wait, it's an instant, and it has spree. So you can pay an additional 2 to mill 4 cards. You may put up to 2 creature and or land cards from among the milled cards into your hand. You can pay an additional 4 and a green. You may put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield, and you can pay an extra 1. Creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is card advantage. This is cheating dragons into play. This is protecting your dragons already in play.
It's really good.
You should be a dragon smuggler. It's not an easy lifestyle.
I love the idea of sliding this Trojan horse into their thing and being like, oh, you like that? Boom!
Dragons!
Full of dragons.
That would have been a more effective horse probably than people sneaking out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just 2 dragons.
They should have done that.
In horse shaped.
Why didn't the real Trojans do that?
I don't know.
The thing is...
What if it was shaped like a dragon and then dragons popped out? It was a dragon!
We were fools! The thing that's so amazing about this card is when you have a ton of mana, you can cast the Dreamland, pay for all the sprees, and it is like a tooth and nail that fills your hand and makes everything indestructible and hexproof at the same time, and that's insane.
Yeah.
But the floor... The smallest thing is just that someone removes your commander and you pay 2 mana.
No, you don't.
And you save him.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah, this card's
we
cracked.
know how Heroic Intervention is already a heavily playable card.
If you're in a big stompy deck like this where you know that protection is going to do something on your board, it's better than a Heroic Intervention.
100%. 100%.
It just does more, and it's only $4, where Heroic Intervention is more than that.
I will tell you, if you play your commander and attack once, what you will 100% start hearing at your table is people go, okay, we need a board wipe.
This needs to stop, yeah.
We need to stop this right now. You want things that stop that from stopping you.
Yep. Smuggler's Surprise is awesome. Pick one up if you haven't played with it already. It's really sweet. And finally, a little bit of card draw, a little bit of mana advantage. It's Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner. Out of the seas and into the skies.
I love this card. This is sort of a pet card of mine because I love untapping things.
This card's great. It's only $1.50. It's only 3 mana, so it's 2 and a hybrid green-blue for a legendary planeswalker Kiora. It has a static ability that says whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Incredible. What? That's so good.
Really good.
And then it has a minus ability that's -1 untap target permanent, like a land or a mana rock. Or a Carnelian of Dragonkind.
Yeah.
Carnelian orb of Dragonkind.
Or, if you don't even need the mana, untap a dragon you attacked with and block with it next turn.
Sick. Not to mention, she comes in with 7 loyalty. So you can do this for 6 turns and keep your commander around. And I will speak from experience. People don't attack Kiora.
No.
It's really weird.
And they probably should.
They should. They attack every other planeswalker, but Kiora gets to sit there for some reason. I don't know why.
And I mean, it's I guess Kiora is not putting pressure on their boards. They don't see some ultimate that if they don't get her big thing. And it feels tough to spend 7 damage on
that's a lot.
Planeswalker,
chipping in for 2 damage on this thing just feels like such a waste of an attack.
Absolutely.
So yeah, pick Kiora up, only $1.50, bringing our total upgrade to $43.25.
Yeah, you got $6 and 75 cents left over.
Buy yourself a couple of lands.
Have a good time with it.
All right. Something I really like about this upgrade is something we've been talking about a lot recently is the amount of overlap that's going on with these cards is so like strong, where it's like Kozilek's Unsealing is draw and card advantage, or draw and mana advantage. Nylea Keenite is card advantage and cost reducer. Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind is ramp and haste. And you can just see when all of these things sort of overlap, your deck, it just has more that it wants.
Well, you just put out the new template. And I remember, like, I was looking at some of the threads on Reddit and that kind of thing. And there was the image you put out that was like, okay, this much mass disruption, this much plan cards. People were like, am I doing the math wrong? That's 108 cards or something like that.
Yeah, it is. But...
And this is the sort of thing you have to think about if you want to like use a template like that correctly. Like, and as you get experienced as a deck builder, it becomes pretty clear. But like, if you have to have a lot of dragons in this deck, it's important to make sure that every card you put in is doing double duty whenever possible.
Yeah. It's like there's so much opportunity for overlap in your cards. Like MDFCs are a great example.
Yeah.
But also that's just sort of how they design cards these days. A lot of things have 2 abilities. And if you can fill 2 slots in your deck with a card, like something like Smuggler's Surprise, now just all of your numbers go up, which makes all of your synergy go up, and it just makes a deck more functional. Having those 8 cards that overlap into multiple categories, I think, is like sort of the difference between a deck that feels really good and really synergistic, and a deck that just doesn't quite have what it needs to consistently behave.
And it just lowers the amount of times that, like, for instance, if you're on the ramp stage of this deck, if you draw that ramp card, or if you draw like a big card, it lowers the number of times that you don't get the right cards at the right time in your plan.
If they're the right time at multiple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we've added 10 cards, or we've added 20 cards almost, because of overlap. We're going to talk about the cards to cut, and this is a tough one because dragons are cool. But if you keep in mind that like a lot of the cards that we've added are doing multiple things, some of the things that we're cutting are cards that only do one thing or don't do a thing well enough.
And we did cut a decent number of dragons, but a lot of these are the lower impact dragons that just like aren't as big a deal.
Yeah.
The first one I cut was Varric's Bladewing, which is just like a 4-mana dragon that you can kick 3 to make a second 4/4 flying dragon. You can't kick it off of cheating it in, so it's just a little underwhelming.
Yeah, you have to cast it to be able to do the kicker, and your commander puts it into play.
Then we cut Harbinger of the Hunt, which is a 5-mana dragon that has the ability for 2 and a red or 2 and a green to deal 1 damage to creatures without flying or with flying. That's just not a great rate for pinging everything.
It's not a great rate, and we were talking about mana sinks, which are good to put in the deck, but when you're playing a deck that cheats giants into play, it's like, I guess you could get rid of chump blockers, but your plan is to be bigger, faster, wider than they are. So it's fine, but we can do better.
Next, we cut Stormbreath Dragon, and this was probably like the last one that I cut on the thing, because it is kind of neat. It's got Flying Haste, protection from white. It's a 4/4 for 5. And then it's got Monstrosity for 7 that just makes it 3 bigger. And when it becomes monstrous, it deals damage to an opponent equal to the number of cards in that player's hand.
Burn spell, yeah.
It's not bad, but it is expensive to do the monstrous thing, and when you just play it, or when you just get it off of your commander, it just doesn't do much. It's just a 4/4 in the air for the most part. After that, I cut Nesting Dragon.
Yeah.
I like this card in a lot of decks, but I feel like you want sack outlets or something to really take advantage of it. Basically, the way this card works is a 5-mana dragon that gives you a landfall ability, and anytime you play a land, it makes a 0/2 egg, and those 0/2 eggs, when they die, create a 2/2 red dragon with fire breathing, which is pay red and give it +1/+0.
Yeah.
like can be really good in some decks.
This deck should be more about cheating monsters into play, in my opinion, than cheating like mid-range threats like this one into play. It's just sort of, there's a lot of dragons that are going to do more for you immediately than this card.
Next was Storm Shriek Feral. I think this is one of the new ones, but it is just a common.
Yeah, this is a main set card.
It has a adventure. Well, it is 4 and a red, and it's a 3/3 dragon with flying and haste, and then has basically an expensive fire breathing. 1 and a red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn. But it also has the adventure called Flush Out, which just lets you discard a card, and if you do, you draw 2 cards. So, I think it's fine, but it's just not impactful enough.
Yeah, the card advantage that we've added. So that's card filtering for the most part. It does have a free dragon attached to it, but this is not the kind of dragon we're trying to cheat into.
And it doesn't cheat out very well. Yeah, that's the big thing. Next, we cut Skarrigan Hellkite. This is a 5-mana 4/4 dragon with Riot, which means it either enters with haste or a 1/1 counter on it. And then it has an ability which lets it deal 2 damage divided as you choose amongst 2 targets, but you can only use that if you didn't cast it with haste. It has to have a 1/1 counter on it, and it's 4 mana to activate that, so it's just low impact.
Yep.
This next one is a cool card, and I feel a little bad cutting it, but it's just not very efficient. I'll just read this one. It's called Breaching Dragonstorm. This is 4 and a red for an enchantment, and when this enchantment enters, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast it without paying its mana cost if that spell's mana value is 8 or less. If you don't, put that card into your hand. And when a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. So it's basically Discover 8.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost exactly Discover 8 on the thing. And this is cool. Like, it'll get you some free dragons, but
it's 5 mana?
Yeah, it's 5 mana. I just don't know how many times you're really going to recast this thing for 5 mana. And a lot of times, it's going to not hit very well.
Yeah, this is going to hit a lot of your ramp pieces, which is fine. But paying 5 mana to just spin the wheel is, in my opinion, just worse than having a dragon that's a good hit off your commander.
Yeah, and if you really love it, toss it in the deck and give it a try. Prove us wrong.
It's cool. I like the idea.
Yeah. This next one is Migration Path, which is 3 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Put them in the battlefield. It's got cycling too. It's fine. It's a solid piece of ramp, but I just think we put some better ones in there. And this is probably the least efficient one that was in the deck. Next is Draconic Roar. This is another new one.
Draconic Lore.
Draconic Lore. No roaring.
Nope.
We had enough of that.
Some roar lore.
Roar Lore. It's 5 and a blue for an instant, and it just draws 3 cards, but it costs 2 less to cast if you control the dragon. I kind of just think a situational harmonize is just not efficient enough.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. It's if you have a dragon, you probably just want to cast the dragon.
Yeah.
Like, keep doing dragon things. So this is like cost less when you already are ahead.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
And when you are in a situation like you just got the board wiped and you just want to be able to rebuild, it's not very good at helping you there. And finally, Dragon Master Outcast. This is just too slow. It is a 1/1 for 1, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. I do like this card, but it's not a dragon itself.
Yeah, I agree. I don't tend to put this in dragon decks. I tend to put this in lands decks if I put it anywhere, and it's sweet there, and here it's just sort of not that helpful.
Yeah, it's just not really on plan.
Okay, those are the 10 cards to cut. Some tough ones. If you have other cuts that you would have preferred, put them in the comments. It's always interesting to see what other people are really hanging on to. If you're giving the new enchantment a try, the Breaching Dragonstorm, this card seems so cool, but I want
awesome.
it like...
But it's not the right thing for it. I've found Discover effects to be a little underwhelming sometimes.
When a dragon you control enters, I guess I want to be making dragon tokens or something.
Yeah.
And not spending 7 mana to get a 5 mana thing back. I guess the joke is if you hit a dragon off of this, it returns right away.
It just pops it back to your hand.
Okay. Well, it's there's a lot of dragons, but there aren't quite that many dragons in here.
Yeah. I mean, I still think a lot of the time you're not hitting a dragon.
Yeah, I agree. Some cool stuff going on in this deck makes the cuts hard, but I'm very excited about these adds. Now that the deck has been upgraded, how do you see this deck playing out? Like, if you could walk through a perfect game with your Rennie, how do you see it?
So we've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but I think Rennie is like the whole plan in a can. Like, really, your goal in this deck is to play out a Rennie, attack once or twice, and just get to the point where you have an overwhelming horde of dragons going on into people. Anyone with experience is going to kind of know that you're the threat, like right from the get-go.
Dragons are scary.
And again,
they should be.
If you've played anything like Kalia the Vast or Gishath, you know how powerful just cheating out big creatures can be. And this is what you're going to be doing for the whole thing. So I think early on, you just want to be ramping out and playing some of your smaller dragons, just kind of blocking with them, like keeping your life total up and, protecting yourself. I don't think you need to be aggressive early on. Like, I think you probably want your dragons to block for you until you get a Rennie out, and then you can just start overwhelming people and going in and attacking and attacking and attacking.
It's Gishath style. You get Gishath on the board as fast as possible, protect your life total in the meantime, and then get some dragons going.
I think if you can get a Rennie out and maybe attack with her even once, like the whole table is going to be playing catch up to you from then on. And your plan is probably just to, get cards, get card advantage, keep setting up for when they do board wipe you or remove your Rennie that you are in a situation where you can play them again and keep that pressure on. I would expect to have your commander removed almost every time it hits the board.
It has to be.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be. That being said, it's enough of an impact, especially if you can get the haste out of it, that I think it's okay for your late game plan to be cast my commander again, keep the dragon train rolling.
Right.
I found, because we played a couple test games, and I found it recovered surprisingly well from board wipes even after that, because
I believe that.
You just cheat in more dragons.
Your commander is sort of 2 dragons in one, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to have something in your hand that is worth casting over a dragon plus hypothetically another dragon.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to be, you removed it, that's fine. I still have the free dragon I got last time. Cast it again.
Yep.
I have another dragon. Which is cool. It's definitely going to be one of those things where I could see a super tuned version of this deck, including a lot more defensive cards. There's not a ton of protection in the deck naturally. Haste sort of does that job, but I mean, there's very few counterspells. There's a very few heroic intervention type pieces.
Yeah, and it might want things like fierce guardianships type things, deflecting SWAT too.
Yeah,
just
the
to,
one
protect your dragons.
I think Not of This World works with your commander. Yeah, 7 power. That's the free one, the free Eldrazi one. So those kind of things are another thing that you could consider if you're doing more upgrades than 10. But out of the box, this is going to be a very cool deck. You are going to have a lot of dragons on the battlefield. And I could see the backup commander being a very cool deck all on its own. So, that's Dargans. That's Dargans, folks.
Dargans fly good. We love them Temur Roar Dargans.
To the listeners, I hope this helped you with your Temur Roar deck. What do you think of this Precon overall? Is it going to be as popular as we think it is today? I don't know. You're in the future. Only you can know. Any cards we missed to add to this upgrade? Any card suggestions that we told you to take out or add that you disagree with? Let us know. You're in the community of people who are building this deck. So share your ideas, and hopefully everybody's deck is going to be even better.
And if you're a patron, yell at us on Discord, and we'll go in and
defend
fight with
ourselves.
You, I guess. Yeah. I like how my take was aggressive and yours was defensive.
Mono white. If you want to pick up any of the cards that we talked about here today, go to cardkingdom.com/command. They've got a huge selection of singles, sealed product, every dragon under the sun. It's great when you can shop at a place that has all of the cards you're looking for in one place. Because I know when I'm building, I'm in a frenzy and just want all of my cards to show up as soon as possible all together so I can get sleeved up and start playing with my friends. And it's nice to have a place that has a huge selection of those cards. I can get as many as possible. Plus, they're pros, so I know that when they package it, the cards that I order are the ones that arrive on my doorstep in the right condition. Plus, when you shop there, you're supporting the show. So go to cardkingdom.com/command. And after that, go over to ultrapro.com/command and pick up all of the accessories that go along with your Magic cards. You're going to need a deck box and a sleeve and a binder and card sorters, dice, everything that you need to build your shiny new dragon deck. Plus, you can pick up their new one-touch card holders. They're cool for, like, you could buy a bunch of them and put commanders in it and store them all in front of your decks.
That's kind of sick, actually.
That's kind of sick. Like, have a shelf with all your commanders out.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like me and you like getting cards signed, so you want to have them protected, but you also want to show them off. It's a cool new product. Give it a shot. Plus, use our affiliate link at ultrapro.com/command. Before we go, we've got to say thank you to our amazing team. But first, we got to talk about something outside the world of Magic.
So,
we were talking about this before the show, so we have to talk about it now.
yeah. So, at least when we're recording this, the first episode of the 4th season of the Righteous Gemstones just came out. This show is great, and this is the last season of it. They've declared that they're, like, done with the story after this.
I'm so glad they made it this far.
Oh, me too. Righteous Gemstones, I mean, I feel like it's been underrated. It's not like winning Emmys and stuff like that,
It's
like
crazy.
a lot of these shows.
Because it's such a sweet production.
It's so well done. It's straight up, it's got that HBO quality that they do in shows. It's massively funny.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard about Righteous Gemstones, it's about a family that runs a mega church, basically. And they're sort of this big, wild, charactered family. It's Danny McBride is the sort of main star, but also John Goodman's in it.
Is like the patriarch of the family who launched the church. And then it's about his children who are the second generation who have never known anything other than being these famous top tier rich church folk.
It's very fun. It's definitely is not for kids, but it's it's a very fun. There's great music and all of the characters are hilarious. The Uncle Baby Billy is my favorite.
That's Walton Goggins.
Oh, God.
And he just blows it out of the water. There's a musical
Who's Danny
sequence.
McBride? It's my show.
There's a musical sequence in, I think, the last season that is just one of the best things I've ever seen on television.
Yeah.
And I will say, the first episode of this season has come out, and just that episode is an amazing episode of television. It's really, really good. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but I will say that it's a totally secondary thing to the main characters and stuff, but it still just says so much about the world and the family and the themes that the show is trying to do.
Yeah.
Because it manages to be really funny, but also make some pretty deep statements and have some profound drama and interesting things going on. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen The Righteous Gemstones, go watch it all.
It's on Max. Check it out. It's a riot. It's really fun. All right. Now it's time to say thank you to everybody here at the Command Zone who makes shows like this one possible. Thank you to Rachel Kendrick, Karina Cruz, Sebastian Salazar, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jake Boss, Eric Lem, Josh Murphy, Manson Lung, Christopher Matista, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, Josh Lee Kwai, Jimmy Wong, and of course to Jordan Pridgen.
That's me.
For taking the time to talk about dragons with me.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good dragon talk. This has been Dragon Talk.
Dragon D's Talks.
Bye.